Welcome back to the channel, folks. This is Jason, host of Fighting Words Financial. I wanted to wish you guys a happy Labor Day. I'm making this video after my son and I got up super early to go surf, and we actually made it back before 9 a.m. So we're actually done for the beach for today, and decided to go ahead and make this video really based on some conversations I've been having in my Patreon group. I did a sort of members only meeting last week where we had a couple of beers, talked about stocks, and really talked about some ways to make money that were not quite so obvious, and looking for, of course, those exponential returns, right? So it seems like, that's the obvious answer, is find a small company with a small market cap, invest in it early, and get those exponential returns. Of course, that sounds a lot easier than it actually is. All right, so some of the ways that I'm thinking about attacking this are looking at sort of past experiences that I've had with investments where some of the biggest and best returns that I've gotten were on companies where it wasn't quite obvious when I invested in them that they were going to be these world shakers and these great performing stocks. And the one that really comes to mind is Fastenal. If you've never heard of Fastenal, I don't blame you. All they make is nuts and bolts and fasteners and pins and that sort of thing. And they have these retail locations all across the nation, and they have these vending machines all across the nation. But I invested in them almost 20 years ago at this point, and it's been an incredible performing stock in my portfolio, and it's paid out a growing dividend for the last 20-something years. And when you look at it, it's outperformed a lot of the other picks that I had over the years that were great technology stocks that ended up getting acquired by someone else or ended up not doing as well as I expected, right? So there are going to be other ways to attack the new revolution we find ourselves in right now, and that's really the AI revolution and the revolution in smart things in our lives, right? So, smart homes, smart cars, smart lights, smart plugs. At this point in our technological advancement, someone has probably tried to create a smart version of everything in your house, right? So Alexa and Siri aren't the only smart voice recognition devices, nor is Tesla the only manufacturer trying to create a smart car with driving assistance programs. Now, the company that I'm going to cover in this video today really wasn't on my radar until one of our last Patreon meetings. I think it was like 2 or 3 meetings ago. And I really have to give credit to one person in my Patreon group who doesn't want to be publicly named for consistently recommending that I look into this company. In that last Patreon meeting, like I said, we talked about a couple of different ideas for achieving those exponential returns. And the most obvious idea was to be an early investor in a small cap company. That means identify a great company while the market cap is still really small. Of course, easier said than done, right? And while we discussed a number of smaller companies, this one company really stood out in my mind because a person in my Patreon group really made an effective case for that. The company is called Cerence. They're headquartered in Burlington, Massachusetts, and it trades under the symbol CRNC. Now, once again, folks, I have to drop a disclosure here. I don't own any shares in Cerence at this point. I am possibly looking at opening an exploratory position. This is not investment advice, of course. You have to do your own due diligence, do your own research, blah, blah, blah. Of course, if you like what you hear, please drop a like on this video. Please subscribe to my channel. If you want to check out my Patreon, it's only $5 a month, and you get to meet some really intelligent investors who can help you get your investment knowledge to that next level. So on with Cerence here. Cerence describes itself as the world's leading provider of automotive assistance, creating intelligent, flexible, and intuitive in-car experiences for the world's leading auto manufacturers. Now, when I say that they are, sort of a back-end company that you may not have heard about, they are actually being used by approximately 50% of all car manufacturers on the planet right now, and you probably don't realize that, which I think is actually kind of stunning, and it's not necessarily reflected in their financials, and we'll get to that here in just a bit. So on their website, they say that with a global team of dedicated to refining future connected mobility, Cerence is mapping the road ahead from stunningly accurate voice recognition and comprehension to incredibly human-like speech output. We're setting a new standard for how users connect with mobility, with the mobility ecosystem, and extend their digital lives for the road ahead. So, of course, that comes directly from their website, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. So, While a company like Tesla attempts to be vertically integrated and does everything in terms of their cars, including all of their software, there are dozens of other manufacturers that are behind the curve, technologically speaking, when it comes to Tesla, and they outsource their software development. Cerence is one of those third-party companies that is developing that high-tech driving experience and claims to have their products in over 325 million cars on the road already, with more than 65 partners worldwide utilizing their technology. Here are just a few of the organizations that partner with Cerence: BMW, Toyota, Hyundai, GMC, Volkswagen, Ford, Land Rover, Jaguar, and many, many more. So let's talk about the software packages that Cerence offers. What exactly do they offer? Well, here are some of the software solutions directly from their website. They basically divide their product lineup into 5 different categories. First one is called Core Technologies, Cloud Services, Voice and Beyond, Mobility Platforms, and Platform Developers. Now, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on each one of these products because you're probably not going to be terribly interested in it unless you're a software developer. But as an investor, I'm going to cover briefly kind of what each one of those does. All right, so this is, like I said, guys, this is a back-end company that you may not hear of that's probably going to ride the wave of not just electric cars here in the future. And if you paid attention to what the CEO of Volkswagen was saying here in the last week or so, he thinks that electric cars are the easy part. It's smart cars that are going to be the real challenge here in the future. Cerence has a good chance of being one of the players on the back end of this here. So the mission of Cerence is sort of to have all of these products empowering a digital ecosystem for connected and autonomous vehicles. And as I go into each product in detail, if there's any question that you might have, though, as far as whether or not we are on the bleeding edge here of an industry-wide change, there actually really shouldn't be at this point. Electric cars are essentially a done deal. They are happening largely because the margins, or Tesla has demonstrated that the margins on electric cars are so much greater than they are on internal combustion engines. And also, you get to charge software, you get to have software margins on all of the software that you include in cars, and that's where they're going to be making a lot of money. Vehicle manufacturers are going to be making a lot of money in the future. So the marriage of smart technologies and AI, along with transportation, is already underway, and the only thing that I can see possibly stopping this is if all of the estimations of the possibilities of artificial intelligence prove to ultimately be incorrect. Now, that's certainly a possibility. Many of you know from watching my live streams that I am way more cautious about the reality of true AI than many investors are. I have yet to be convinced that this is right around the corner like everyone else thinks it is, largely because I've been watching this field for a very long time, for 20 years, and I've seen a couple of different ideas like neural networks come and go, and now we're into machine learning and deep learning. And so by cautious, what I really mean is I think that the timetable for true AI is probably further away than many people think. But there are still hundreds of millions of vehicles on the road right now that are outdated, used, without digital dashboards or AI cloud experiences, and consumers are going to want these updates. Additionally, as time progresses and we see the adoption of smart vehicles become more and more prevalent, it won't be limited to just luxury cars. It's going to become more obvious that this transition into this digital driving experience is going to be affecting all income levels and all classes of vehicles. And in some ways, that AI age is already starting to become a reality, despite the doubts that I have too. So let's take a look at Cerence's technology in more detail, and then we can take a look at their finances, and I'll give you my opinion as to where I see this company going in the future. So let's start with their core technology. Core technology is described as an AI assistance platform for global mobility, and it's called the Cerence Drive. Now, without going into an incredible amount of detail that I'm sure to bore you, this product is primarily focused on ways of improving conversational AI and voice recognition systems. The Cerence Drive offers a portfolio of services to enhance the user experience and controls the entire Cerence software ecosystem. One unique part of their system that I haven't seen before is the ability to create a customized voice for your vehicle, your dashboard, that imitates that of a real person. Now, it could be a family member or celebrity or some other type of loved one. Cloud technology Cerence is kind of their second category here. Offers cloud services, of course. The cloud is essentially the ability to store data and have that data readily accessible anywhere you go, or at least in as many locations as realistically possible, right? So they offer a suite of connected products and apps through their cloud software, which enhances safety and productivity while on the go and can also be integrated with a smartphone and other smart devices. With this software package, they actually already have a bunch of different apps that are already integrated, such as Cerence Pay, and this offers contactless payments for for parking situations, fuel, charging your vehicle, or places where you can get food on the go. They also have Search Engine AI, which assists for answering general knowledge questions while you're in your vehicle using their AI voice system. Ownership management assists with managing your car's upkeep, like your maintenance schedule, tour guide services, and voice and beyond recognition and conversational AI is also tied into their cloud services. When Cerence talks about conversational AI, they don't just include voice. The beyond portion of that voice and beyond element of their software package is where eye movements and gestures are included to create that multi-sensory experience. For example, when you communicate with someone and you're speaking with them, your communication isn't just on the verbal level. People are looking at your body language, people are looking at your facial expressions. The goal is to have something that's almost like a human co-pilot. One of the examples that they use on their website is someone driving past a coffee shop on the side of the road and talking, asking Cerence voice, "Hey Cerence, what's that coffee shop to my left?" The digital dashboard also offers a text interface with swipe keyboard assisting when it comes to entering addresses, phone numbers, points of interest, so on and so forth, and search. Cerence's systems also offer emergency vehicle detection to alert you when there's an oncoming ambulance, police vehicle, or fire truck that's approaching. I guess that's something that Tesla should be looking at this point, since they've had a number of issues in that department recently. And to add on to this interesting technology that they've created, the voice system is able to detect who is talking by recognizing voice patterns and opening the individual's profile simply by identifying their voice tone or voice patterns, which ultimately provides that more personalized experience. And for example, if you owned a couple of different cars that all operated on Cerence software, and maybe you shared those cars with your wife or two kids or whatever it is, every time you got in one of the vehicles, no matter which one you were driving, it would automatically pull up your user profile for that more personalized driving experience. So in this video so far, we've talked about AI, driving, and Cerence's technology, mostly just in that automotive setting, but they do offer multiple platforms outside of just the digital dashboard. I'm talking about Cerence mobility platforms. Cerence has apps, of course, for automobiles and apps that are specifically designed for two-wheeled vehicles like scooters and motorcycles as well, and for buildings, right? And we'll get to that here in just a second. The two-wheeler technology can be connected to a Bluetooth headset or as an extended dashboard, something that is really considered more like a digital helmet for riders that has a heads-up display. It's meant to support distraction-free driving. So far, their system already supports both Android and Linux OS. Curiously, it doesn't support Apple OS. They have out-of-the-box Bluetooth headset support. They have support for different mobile devices as an extended dashboard. You can sync your phone to it with a display unit, along with a projection of the phone on a heads-up display unit. So I think that's actually pretty cool. It supports distraction-free navigation, ride planning, vehicle tracking, and service reminders. The building mobility platform is probably one of their lesser developed software packages, but I definitely see some potential there. They utilize that to create a contactless experience for people within buildings by integrating into it building technologies such as elevators, language detection devices, all with cloud connectivity and this humanizing experience. Platform Developers is the last product talked about on their website, and that is their developer platform, of course. Specifically, these platforms are used for detecting voice input, defining conversation flows from AI, voice assistant, or to manage the life cycle of a project and its capabilities. This is a product that should be considered basically their API or their application programming interface. And honestly, this is the product that may actually be what makes Cerence ultimately a successful long-term investment. This is, of course, this information is taken directly from their website. So once again, you have to take this with a grain of salt. But Cerence Studios provides the tools and services for OEMs and third-party developers to put them in the driver's seat for creating unique driving experiences. It provides access to Cerence's intuitive natural language understanding technology and advanced conversational dialogue system to create custom domains that take automotive voice assistants to that next level, whether it's creating chatbots, jokes, games, or even the car manual. All of this allows for a branded experience that will help automakers set them apart from their competition. Like I said, this may be the thing that actually sets them apart from their competition. If you can make it easy for third-party developers to use your product and integrate it, or to use your product and brand it and make it unique, that is going to be what makes this take off. So this is one of the big things that we addressed in our last Patreon meeting, that the vehicle company of the future is going to be just as much a software company in a lot of ways as it is a hardware company. Much of the hardware in the new generation of electric vehicles is not new at all. Many of the things like motors and suspension and braking, these are all century-old technologies, very, very old. You're only going to see incremental improvements in those. The improvements are going to be, of course, in battery management technology, battery chemistry, and software, and the driving experiences. You know, companies are going to differentiate themselves really with their software platforms. The other things in the car aren't going to be so obvious to you, and that driving experience that is delivered by those platforms. There are a lot of electric vehicle manufacturers out there desperately racing to get into production, and very importantly, to differentiate themselves from the competition. And many of these companies, in a lot of ways, are already in trouble financially. I think we've already seen that with a couple of videos that I've done. And they're pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into software development. And essentially, they're all reinventing the wheel over and over and over, or they're trying to poach talent from the likes of Tesla. And all of these companies are just most zealously guarding what they have, at least when it comes to the likes of Apple or Google and their transportation platforms. We hear a lot of rumors about what they might have, but we don't hear a lot of facts, and I don't really have an idea of how far along they are. Sooner or later, someone that is making electric vehicles is going to be successful, and they're going to start by taking a more open source approach to car software. There were a couple of other companies that I've talked about where I thought that was going to be the case, but they haven't seemed to be able to manage that raising money to actual production phase, and they're all starting to fall apart at this point. Somebody's going to start a company from the ground up that says these are the areas that we're actually just going to buy the technology and not bother developing it on our own, and then customize it once we have it. And I think Cerence is really sort of the doorway into doing that. This is one of the reasons that I believe that Cerence may actually really be a viable target for an eventual buyout by a much larger company, probably some legacy manufacturer or some very, very well-funded startup that just wants to skip to the head of the line in terms of software capabilities. And Cerence, in a lot of ways, really is at the head of that line. So let's take a look now at financials. Let's do a little bit of an earnings overview, and let's just talk about some numbers here. While all of the product features sound incredible, how profitable is this business? What is their financial situation like? And how manageable is this business for the long term? Well, according to Cerence's last reported earnings, they once again handily beat expectations. This is at least the fourth quarter in a row that they've done so. I only look back for 4 quarters. Revenue grew 29% year over year. The company exceeded quarterly guidance on virtually all of the very boring GAAP and non-GAAP key profitability metrics. Cerence also announced in their earnings call strategic collaborations with over 15 auto OEMs, a collaboration with Sirius XM, Visteon, the largest supplier of automotive cockpit electronics, and Harman International, another automotive electronics company. The company publishes some of their non-traditional metrics in order to help investors gain further insight into Cerence's business and performance. Now, keep in mind these are their own key performance indicators, and at least one of them is less than obvious here. But essentially, they state that the percentage of worldwide production of automobiles using Cerence's technology is 53%, meaning that 53% of automakers are using their technology in some way. Now, I find this very impressive. The next thing is their average contract duration is 6.8 years. So they have some longevity with the business they're doing right now. We're able to project out and say this is what they're going to have in revenues in the future. They have another metric here called repeatable software contribution, where I was not able to get an explanation as to what that really is in their portfolio here, but they claim that's at 81%. Right now, to me, that metric is meaningless because I don't really know. I don't really know how they're calculating that. So the change in number of Cerence connected cars shipped year over year, they have 12% more than they did last year, and the growth in billings per car year over year is 13%. So growth for this company is most definitely on a positive trend. It appears that they are a high margin company with a sticky product that's indicated by the average contract duration with a decent amount of revenue growth, if not profitability. They're not tremendously profitable and not consistently profitable. They have also appear to be in decent financial health in terms of their balance sheet. Servicing their debt is well covered by their operating cash flow. But to be honest, guys, I'm still not entirely sold. There's one thing here that's a big warning sign for me, and that's the lack of insider purchasing over the last 12 months. When I say lack of insider purchasing, there's been none according to the sources that I checked. On the flip side, there have been some sells in the last year by insiders, but not in the amounts that concern me greatly. 6 people have sold about $14 million in combined shares with a market cap of somewhere north of $4 billion. That's really not a lot of insider selling. So at the current price of $111 a share, based on traditional valuation metrics, that they're roughly 26% undervalued. But if you noticed, I'm not bubbling over with enthusiasm right now. I'm more cautiously optimistic about this company, largely because this stock has seen an absolutely incredible run over the last year and a half. Now, as I always do, I want to provide you guys some closing thoughts while attempting to be as unbiased as possible with as little hype as possible. Cerence is a very interesting company in an emerging industry where we don't know where that industry is going to go just yet. But they are a nuts and bolts manufacturer of that new AI industry where their product could be used by many, many people. Artificial intelligence is expected to grow to be worth as much as $15 or $20 trillion over the next several decades, according to multiple sources. This industry optimism includes Cathie Wood of ARK Invest, of course, and I think that this company has a lot of potential in that space and could very well grow to substantial size, and probably is going to be a target for buyout by someone in the legacy auto industry or the legacy or the parts manufacturing industry. However, it's hard for me to justify diving headfirst into this company because they've risen close to 300% over the last year and a half, while they have not experienced anywhere near that much revenue growth or profitability. As a long-term Tesla investor like I am, you might say that I should be able to eat that uncertainty with no problems, but the reality is I can't really do that with every single stock that I invest in. I'm probably going to open up an exploratory position in this company, maybe a round lot of 100 shares or something just to keep this company on my radar. But I'm not going to make a really large commitment of capital like I did with SoFi earlier this year, as I'm just not as certain of the growth prospects for this company. And while I don't think that Cerence is a company that's going to fail, I really don't. I think it's going to do just fine. I'm not entirely certain if the current valuation and expectations for this company, just by taking all the extra risk of holding this company in a large amount outside of an index fund or outside of a very small individual holding in my portfolio. I do find this company very interesting, but I think it's going to sit mostly on my watch list for now before I dive any deeper. And I may take a small position, like I said before, and reevaluate it in 2022 and 2023. But I think for now, I've missed out on what was really a year and a half ago an excellent time to invest. Anyway, folks, these are just my thoughts, just my opinion. Feel free to let me know how wrong you think I am about this company in the comments below, or feel free to let me know what you think the possibilities are. I'm interested to hear what you think. I don't see a lot of coverage for this stock on YouTube. So check out my Patreon if you get a chance. It's only $5 a month, and like I said, you get to discover stocks like this and companies like this and folks who are very intelligent who can help you get your portfolio knowledge to that next level. Thank you very much, guys, and have a nice Labor Day.